When we learn to listen, our lives become easier and profoundly more fulfilling. It's with great pleasure I'd like to introduce Phoebe Hutchison, an author, a counselor, who has written a book titled, Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You. Good morning and welcome to our program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Phoebe, what a beautiful title. Give me
Thank
the
you.
reason for you to title this book, Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You.
Well, for starters, it's a self-help book and it's very positive, and I really believe the way we look at life is the way that life becomes. And when we see life as a helper, as a healer, it makes life so much better. I mean, bad things happen to everyone. We all go through terrible experiences, but when we look, we can see the way that life has really tried to help us through those times.
Mm-hmm. Phoebe, how do you listen to life, and how does life speak to you?
It's a really good question. Life speaks to us all in many different ways. Life's constantly speaking to us, but so many people are so busy focusing on other things and not hearing. Life is speaking to us through intuition, which we really need to quieten to really hear and to stop our busy lives. Life's speaking to us through our emotions, through anger, through jealousy. They're all speaking to us, and I talk about this in the book. And life's speaking to us through our relationships, time, and through our finances are actually talking to us as well. And there are many rules of life like karma, which we really, really benefit by following. So life's speaking to us in many mysterious ways, and sometimes you've just got to stand back and have a laugh at life because it's really got a great sense of humour.
Yeah. Now, talking about inner voice, will you be able to share that inner voice? Some people got lots of difficulties.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. It's a really good question. Inner voice is absolutely paramount in decision making, but sometimes we can't hear that inner voice. I recommend to clients to have a couple of hours a day, quiet time, maybe when the kids are in bed, to really just, plod around the house and really just re-energise. So many people live such a hugely distracted existence. In the car, they're listening to the radio. When they get home, it's the TV. The family's not sitting together and communicating, they're watching the news. All this negativity that's going into the subconscious mind, and people get so in crisis they can't make decisions because they can't hear this beautiful inner spirit that is really always there, but we can't hear it when we're overcomplicated and too busy.
Phoebe, in your book you write about case studies. Will you be able to share maybe one example of one of the case studies you had?
Thank you. Yeah, the case studies were fun actually. While writing the book, many people told me about how life had spoken to them. And one example that was very powerful was a beautiful woman who was every day going to see her mother in hospital with her father, but one day, for a reason she couldn't explain, she decided to stay home. She stayed home and cried because she knew she couldn't go that day, but she didn't know why. Mm-hmm. And her father went to the hospital. He was really disappointed that she didn't go, but on the way home from the hospital, he was in a car crash and his van was completely written off except for the area where he was sitting. So if she had have gone, she would have most likely have been killed. I've got many examples like that in the book, and they're very spooky. And I talk about many fun things in the book, like auras and chakras, and even just how walls can retain feelings in houses. There's just many amazing things. Life's so much deeper than what we all look and see.
Phoebe, when did you first hear intuition?
Thanks for asking. Many years ago, possibly close to 20 years ago, I lived a very different life. I actually had a binge drinking addiction for a little time. I was a singer and it went hand in hand, and life was really complicated and it was really hard. I wasn't processing my emotions. I was really struggling, and we were poor. My marriage was struggling. This is before I wrote the Marriage Survival Guide. And one day I had the most amazing experience. I felt like it changed my life because I heard life scream at me. Inside me there was a scream saying, stop, don't go that direction, don't go to that place. And I was heading in a certain direction. I was going to meet a certain person and I heard the scream. And I said to myself, I can't understand. And logically I argued with myself. This is where we can use our logical, conscious mind and argue with intuition. And I said everything will be okay. And while I can't talk about the details of that night fully, I almost died that night. And from that moment on, I stopped binge drinking, my life changed, and I never, ever ignored that scream from within, which too many people are ignoring that scream.
That's a nice story, Phoebe. Now, how can we reprogram our subconscious mind?
Really good question. The subconscious mind was one of my most exciting parts of the research that I did over those 5 years. I really, really loved learning so much about it. And I have written articles and I help people constantly with the subconscious mind. With the subconscious, what I see quite often is people have goals, people have, dreams, things they want to achieve. But if their subconscious mind, if their self-concept, which is the way they see themselves, the way they see their life, the way they see the world, if that is not in direct alignment with their goals are most likely not going to be achieved. So what I help people doing, and I certainly won't tell you now what I do, it's in the book, but I help people transform and reprogram their subconscious minds, because that's where it all is. And that's one of the reasons actually why when I work with people who are depressed, I have very fast results and turnarounds in a matter of weeks, because I'm dealing directly with the subconscious mind. And people can do this, and I give them the tools to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phoebe, now this book has lots of beautiful titles, that many topics you have sort of done that research for 5 years. Will you be able to briefly share with us the topics you have written in this nice book called Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You.
Yes, for sure. The topics. Before I talk about the topics, if I may, I'd just like to talk about the research. When I was researching Are You Listening, I wanted to have a very eclectic approach. I wanted to make sure that I went wide. So I researched doctors' books, hypnotherapists' books, psychologists, counsellors, and going into natural therapies and learning about qi, Chinese energy, feng shui. So there were many varied type of practices that I looked into thoroughly and read many, many books just so I could really make sure what I believed was correct and back it up with the evidence and the studies that other people had done. One of my most exciting things, I know I'm going off the track, but was quantum physics. I get so excited about quantum physics. Knowing just a little bit about quantum physics can really show us so much about life. When we know that two atoms can be far apart and yet still touching. When we think about, the other day I was having a radio interview with Hay House Radio from my lounge room, and it's real time in America. It's happening instantly. Our emotions, our thoughts, they all go out there like that instantly. We're like radio transmitters. And this is so exciting, but it does align to our subconscious. So your goals won't be realised unless they're aligning with what you believe inside your subconscious.
Now talk about Hay House. They are one of the biggest world publishers. How did you get that break, Phoebe?
That was a wonderful experience. I went to the I Can Do It seminars in Melbourne and met with one of the key personnel from Balboa, from Hay House, and started speaking and showed her my book, and she said, that's a really great start. So I went back to the drawing board and kept working. So it was a long, long process, but eventually I certainly was able to get my book through, and I was just so excited and so honoured to be a part of that family.
Yeah, the reason is, it's to get a company like that to publish a book, you got to have something really good for them to take you on board.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an absolute honour, and it's wonderful to be with them. Thank you.
Phoebe, who is this book for? Because you have touched base, spoke about depression, talk about anxiety. There are so many different topics.
Well, I think this book's really for everyone, but no, in reality, this book's for people who are struggling, people who are confused about life, people who are goal setting and it's not working out, people who are in crisis, people who feel like giving up, people who really feel like they don't understand what's going on in their life anymore. I give in this book many tools that I learned as a counsellor, such as CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy, Gestalt therapy, person-centred therapy, and many more, plus tools that I've created myself and simplified to make it easier for the person.
Phoebe, once again, let me thank you. You know, you've given such valuable information to our viewers, and it's such a great book. Believe it or not, I'm going to read it again. So the book is titled "Are You Listening? Life is Talking to Us." It's a great book for you to purchase it. And also, will you be able to, where can they purchase this book, Phoebe?
Yes, you can purchase Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You from my website, which is www.areyoulistening.com.au.
And once
and
again,
many other places, of course.
let me wish you all the very best and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for this wonderful interview and for your time.
Thank you.